Your fugitives' names are Joshua Futterman, Tiger.
I'm gonna hurt you, Gandhi. I am gonna hurt you real bad.
And Wolf.
Honor might mean jack to this bozo, but it sure means a hell of a lot to me.
And me too. Let's start the show!
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love, when you want, where you want, however you want. I am serious newsman Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm comedic genius Brian Brushwood, so proclaimed himself. But most importantly, I'm the #1 fan of Future Man until I sort of fell off in the middle of season 2. But I'll be damned if that preview did not get me back into season 3. It looks like they're going back to simple roots where they're saying, yeah, the whole universe is messed up. We're going to go skitting through time and we're going to do everything that's irrational and crazy.
Also, the final season.
There was a Keanu Reeves imitation.
Okay, good point. Final season. That's a bummer because that means it has a chance to get good just in time to be over.
April 3rd on Hulu, Future Man, season 3.
All right, I'm all in.
Strong. You know who else always finishes strong, Brian?
Yes, that would be one Bill Meeks, formerly of Meeks Mixed Media. God, terrible name. I'm sorry. But now
I wasn't aware I had that reputation, Tom, but thank you. Word gets around, I guess.
Bill
I
Meeks.
just shot that up there. I wasn't sure what Brian was going to do with it. He could have also gone, no idea, but Bill Meeks is with us. It could have worked out anyway.
Bill Meeks, when you're stuck in an elevator and you only have 30 seconds to explain who you are and what you do, what do you usually tell them?
I am a content creator, content producer. I enable creative people to make their own content as the COO of Do Anything Media, a company I kind of just dreamt up last night and just started.
Hey, well done.
Thank you. I've been in a lot of elevators for 30 seconds.
Yeah. I usually just go third floor. And so I'm going to have to rework my pitch. Well, let's get right into the primary target. Disney's Robert Iger announced he has stepped down as CEO of Disney. He just kind of did it. Like, he just kind of dropped, well, I don't know if it's a mic or a wand or what you hold as CEO of Disney. But
it was a stock price. He had a stock price in his hand and he just dropped it.
Just dropped the stock price. Iger announced in 2018 that he planned to retire. So this wasn't a shock that he retired. It was just, there was no lead up to it. He's like, I'm out. But the announcement, so it was unexpected. Disney's chairman of Parks, Experiences, and Products, Bob Chapek, is the new Disney CEO. Iger will assume the role of executive chairman. So he's not gone for the company. He will stick around as executive chairman through 2021 and continue to direct creative endeavors while leading the board. Now, this is interesting because creative endeavors means Marvel films, Lucasfilm, a lot of the stuff that people are crediting Disney with their success, but it's not like Chapek doesn't know the company. During his 23 years at Disney, Bob Chapek has headed consumer products. He's led film distribution, home entertainment, and for the past 5 years, he has run the theme parks division. So the expectation here is that maybe keeping Bob around, Bob Iger, that is, keeping Iger around will help Chapek sort of be able to make a smoother transition, and they can then groom the person who will replace what Iger is doing with content to kind of step in and do that role under Chapek.
Can I make the pitch? And I have no qualifications to do this. In the last 5 years, we've seen an awful lot of Disney being on top of a bunch of different verticals, and each one sort of on a path. And all anybody wants to hear when it comes to the Marvel path is that you're just going to keep doing the same thing, right? When it comes to the Star Wars path, it's like you're going to see through that series, right? And you're going to keep on developing stuff. When it comes to, the Disney Premiere or the Pixar content, Incredibles 2 coming out, right? It seems like now is a good time to rip the Band-Aid off of appearing to have a shakeup without actually having to have a shakeup. So it's like you reshuffle titles, you get somebody who says, yeah, sure, fine, I'll call me the CEO, whatever. But meanwhile, they're all trying to figure out what the next 10 years look like for Disney. Like, is there anything that we are midstream on with Disney that sounds like it would be substantially upset by this?
I don't think so. Bill, what do you think of Brian's take here?
I'm thinking here. maybe the only thing that would be affected is this Disney Plus thing that is kind of there right now, because I think Bob Chapek, I think, had a bit to do with that, but he is very much the money man. You know, I live here in Orlando, right down from Disney World. I have some friends who work in the creative departments down there, and I guess, you know, Chapek just completely obliterated a lot of the cool creative stuff they were going to do for this new Star Wars land, because he's very much, you know, about the bottom line. Where Iger, love him or hate him, he at least kind of leaned into, you know, the creative classical Disney feeling, where Chapek is probably just going to, you know, take out all the rides, put in all gift shops, and that's about it.
I honestly, I know that is the internal feeling of a lot of people, because I have a few friends as well who've expressed that. It's an overreaction. Chapek's, you know, obviously not. He's done a decent job with the parks, as much as people criticize him for lacking vision. But that definitely explains why we're seeing Iger stick around to groom the creative side, to be able to say, like, look, Chapek, you're really good at some things that involve dollars and cents and operations, and that's great, and you should continue to oversee them, but we need a visionary that you can trust. And so I don't know, Brian, back to your point, I don't know that it's a great look that you have to do that for whatever reason, that Iger does have to stick around. And it makes me wonder how long Chapek sticks around, because well, it's not that Disney needs a shakeup. Everything has been working really strong for them. It's that they need to continue to avoid stagnation, right? And that's what you usually have an opportunity, like you were saying, when you switch the CEO, to be like, all right, it's time to shake some things up that weren't working. The problem is everybody look at Iger's last 15 years and go, well, he continually did that to himself. He could, you know, he went out and bought Marvel when everyone thought that was a really bad idea. He convinced George Lucas to sell Lucasfilm, which everyone thought he would never do. So how do you continue to be that person who makes the right moves, right?
I think this buys them a bit of time. So the narrative that stockholders want to hear is there was one Disney Jesus and now there's a new Disney Jesus, right? That of course is hard to do because you have to pick one person who may or may not perform or whatever. This sort of buys them at a lull when attention is fairly soft. Like right now, the number one project that's new in the Disney agenda is Disney Plus, and they're very much trying to find their footing. Now is a really good time to, like, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody stood up and said, hey, everybody here at this board meeting, who's willing to just pretend to be CEO for a little bit until we figure out who has an idea with a proven track record that we could declare as the new Disney Jesus? And then and this guy's like, I run theme parks, and so fine, go ahead, and we'll just that'll be the label until we get someone else.
I don't get the sense that is happening here at all, because he doesn't just run theme parks. He has worked in multiple divisions, and that's what Variety and Deadline and everything. Oh, the reason they're picking this guy is he has experience. He has hands-on experience in multiple parts of the business. And so it doesn't feel like Bob Chapek stepped up and like, I'll be your fall guy.
Oh, no. Sorry. I don't mean a fall guy. I just mean a cozy temporary companion until Doctor Who finds his forever.
I don't get the sense that you know, whatever words I'm exaggerating to change your point, I don't get the sense that that's it at all. I get the sense that Bob Chapek is supposed to be the next Jesus, that he is like, look at this guy's got the cred. And Jesus is, you know, going to stick around for 3 days to make sure Peter, you know, gets everything going. But here's the thing. Jesus handed over the church to Peter, and guess who everyone looked at to write all of the letters? It was Paul. Peter just kind of faded into the background. So I'm overdoing the biblical analogy here, but you may still be right. Whereas Bob Chapek thinks, great, I'm the heir. And then everyone goes, yeah, but this guy over here, Paul, he's really got it down. We're going to publish all his letters and make him CEO. And you see that happen sometimes where, you know, the Iger retires, the CEO that steps up is not meant to be somebody who will just temporarily fill the position, but they end up doing that because they can't live up to it.
So can I pitch you a nightmare scenario that fuels my suspicions on this? We have seen Disney do well and then enter a lull, and then do well, and then enter a lull. Most recently, was the Eisner days when during the 90s, it was constantly, everything was a Disney Vault and off it went until it kind of ate its own tail and became a joke. And then, there was that brief moment that they wanted to fire
and
Pixar.
You know who was instrumental in the Vault strategy?
Was
Bob Chapek.
Oh, okay, great. So
Typical Chapek.
Which maybe only leans into this. Like, this is, in the last 10 years, I think this is weirdly the weakest we've seen Disney in terms of there was an inevitability in the very early days of Disney. Every new thing would be a moneymaker. And then there was an inevitability in the 90s as, we're going to grab this top tier talent. We're going to put everyone in the Disney Vault. We're going to have this hit song associated with the thing, and we're going to make all the money. And then there was an inevitability for the last 10 years. But now, more than ever, I'm not feeling that inevitability, which is probably a good time to sort of set up a behind-the-scenes American Idol for who's going to be the next America's top new Disney Jesus is what's happening behind the scenes.
America's next big Iger.
Yes, exactly. Forgive me, all of this is pure speculation on my part, but doesn't some part of this ring true as far as like where we're at?
Yeah, this definitely feels like a move where this is all about optics, right? This is all about Chapek is a guy who is given the company financial success, and he's a name that's known, so he's a real good guy to slot in there. And, while Iger is leaving, they can be like, hey, he's coming in Tuesdays for brunch every week. So, we're going to have the Iger wisdom for a couple more years. So, yeah, all this seems like it's a big move for optics while they figure out what the heck they're going to do.
Honestly, though, I mean, you could also look at this. Bob Chapek is Tim Cook. Tim Cook took over as CEO of Apple, unfortunately, at a period when Steve Jobs was dying. But the idea was that Steve would still be around. He didn't live, so that never happened. But Tim Cook was the Bob Chapek. He's the guy who was really good with the numbers, really good with in this case supply chain, and he was the steady hand, even though he wasn't the visionary. And I don't think you can argue that Apple has done quite well under Tim Cook. So the Bob Chapeks can take over and do well. But they don't always. So like you say, Brian, like there's no telling. And I get what you're saying, where everything has felt inevitable for the past 10 years of Iger's reign. And now we're in the new phase of Marvel. Lucasfilm is on the wrong foot with movies. And there's so many things that are suddenly in question that weren't in question for a long time. Yeah.
And plus also, none of which is meant to impugn Bob 2.0's abilities. I mean, the first mate can handle the
Bob
wheel,
2.0,
right?
Like really, like you couldn't find somebody not named Bob to fill Bob out.
But
everyone knows the founder of Walt Disney Studios, Bob Disney.
Bob Eisner.
Bob Mouse, Bob Duck, Bob Fee. Here's my point is, if you are going to cast a bit of chaos, now seems like a really good time to do it for Disney. And I suspect that has something to do with the timing of this.
And the general feeling is Disney is the strongest of the studios right now. They're the one that have the least to worry about. They're the ones who bought Fox. They're not the ones who merged with Viacom to save themselves. And so it is unsettling to a lot of people to have Bob Iger leave. And maybe that's why you put Chapek in, again, possibly with the idea that he won't always be there, but he's a steady hand. He's not going to rock the boat. And then you let a couple of things fail, and then it's time to shake it up. So maybe now, maybe later. But Brian, I think eventually you're going to be proved right that you're going to need a new visionary to make all this stuff continue to go forward.
I'll tell you what, man, a lot of people constantly telling me I'm right, but nobody more about the fact that when I told everybody go to patreon.com/Cordkillers and support this loud, live, and independent show where we teach you how to watch what you want, when you want, on any damn device you approve of or disapprove of. I mean, we're not going to judge. The important thing is that you can keep us alive by heading to patreon.com/Cordkillers. We got special bonus content. You get your own RSS feed. You get stuff ahead of time, and you get our after talk segments where we talk just to you.
Time to talk about how to watch. Not that long ago, we talked about AT&T's strategy of having two products, one named AT&T TV and the other AT&T TV Now. And then we lived in blissful ignorance that wasn't the reality that they would have until today. So let's refresh your memory. AT&T TV Now is the renamed DirecTV. That offers you cable-like streaming TV over the internet on pretty much whatever platform you want with no contract. So this is like YouTube TV. It's like Hulu Live. You get the app, you pay for the subscription, you watch the TV. AT&T TV, Now, is a different service where you pay for streaming cable-like TV over the internet, and AT&T gives you an Android box to watch the service on. If you want a second Android box, you pay $120 for an Android box. You also have to agree to a 2-year contract. AT&T TV Now, no contract. AT&T TV, contract. 2-year contract. And you start paying $50 a month, which is fairly equivalent to the other service, for the first year, after which it goes up to $93 a month. And if you cancel, they charge you an early termination fee of $15 for every month left on your contract. The Android box has most of the Google Play apps. In fact, they say they're integrated in with Netflix and YouTube, but it doesn't integrate Hulu or Prime Video. I don't think they can stop you from using the Google Play Store to install Prime Video or Hulu, but they're saying it's not part of the service. So I guess it's not integrated into the AT&T TV Now software that rides on top of Android. You can, however, access AT&T TV on iOS and Android mobile devices, and you can get up to 3 streams simultaneous. But again, if you want AT&T TV on a separate box, you either have to pay $120 for a new box or get AT&T TV Now, which again is an entirely different service that you're not allowed to use if you're paying for AT&T TV. If I haven't entirely confused everyone trying to keep these two apart, the idea here, I think, Brian, is that AT&T TV Now is for us. It's for cord cutters. It's for people looking like, well, should I get YouTube TV? Should I get Sling TV? Oh, look, there's this AT&T TV Now. Maybe I'll get that, right? It's DirecTV Now. AT&T TV with no Now is meant for people who have cable. It's meant for the people who would normally call up DirecTV and ask about installing a satellite. And in fact, AT&T has said they're going to cut back the marketing of DirecTV satellite in favor of this. This is, you are used to a contract. You're used to having someone give you hardware to install or installing hardware for you. And so this is more comfortable for you because you're not the person who's going to go out and buy your own Roku and install an app on it.
Bryce, Bill.
Yes.
Can either of you tell me which of the two packages described is which analog?
Is which analog?
Yes. Yes.
Which one is AT&T TV?
In other words,
is AT&T TV
restate the whole paragraph or two that Tom just said. Who can do that?
Bill, you want to take a crack at it?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Wait, hold on. Bryce, are you saying that because you can't?
No, I'm saying that because I've been looking at the webpage for the past 10 minutes. I know which one is which.
All right, Bill.
Okay, I think AT&T Now is for people over 50 years old who are used to giving AT&T a bunch of money, and then AT&T TV is for people who are in insane asylums.
I'm sorry, your answer is not correct.
Darn.
AT&T TV Now.
We can't even say the name of the product.
Such
That's
a bad
idea.
Why did they not name this AT&T TV? I mean, AT&T, come on.
So AT&T TV is the new. Okay, Tom. Here's a question: is AT&T TV, which is the contract-based, very expensive one that gives you a box, is that replacing AT&T's existing TV service?
No.
So there's a third AT&T television service.
Correct.
Cable service. Good God Almighty.
This is the part
Man,
I would like.
I worked for AT&T for like 4 years. They have really stepped up their evil game. That's all I'm saying.
Hey,
such a bad name.
Who here could describe Peacock? Because I can. That's NBC's one online paywalled service that is going to have everything.
Well, and honestly, it's not NBC Universal's only online service, but it doesn't matter because they're not trying to sell you Fandango Now or Zumo, which we'll talk about later, along with Peacock. So when you think NBC, you think Peacock, and NBC's happy with that. They don't want you to think about these other things that they happen to own. They don't want you to even bother knowing that they own them. Whereas AT&T TV leaned into it. They're like, man, we have this great brand, DirecTV. Let's totally toss it out and not use it in favor of this.
And put up a brand that everybody hates, AT&T. Like where DirecTV,
and that already means something else, right?
Mm-hmm. It means it means overpriced long distance and garbage internet service. That's what it means. For everybody out there who gets annoyed with my obsession with the simplicity of names and brands and all that stuff, congratulations. These are the weeds that I'm advising everybody to stay out of. We're here. Yes. How do you like them? Would you like to maybe reconsider your opposition to considering the simplicity of a message?
Now, in AT&T's defense, I will say that they are not expecting anyone to know this. It gets harder when you try to compare the two services. They are going to market AT&T TV now to an entirely different audience than AT&T TV. So they're rightfully, I think, expecting that most people won't encounter both brands. They'll say, I want to get TV from AT&T. Which one's my cord cutting service? And they'll get directed to Now. Or they'll say, I'm going to call up AT&T and ask them about getting TV service, and they'll be directed to AT&T TV.
Yeah, that squares everything up. Bill, how are you feeling? Are you big? Which one are you going to go with? Are you going to go with AT&T Now or AT&T TV?
Is there
also, can you tell me
later?
the difference between the two? Because I've managed to forget in the last 30 seconds. Which one is which?
They're both really bad, Brian. One is just moderately worse than the other. So I'm going to get both of them. You know,
yeah, that's the only wise decision.
Yeah. That way you have your options there.
Here's the mnemonic if you need to, for some reason, keep these straight. Now is the modern service that doesn't require a contract or you to like buy a box from the company.
It's the Pepsi of the two.
Now means, oh, this works like things work now instead of like they used to work.
Got it. The other is the Coke, sitting on the porch with Grandpa, the way it used to be, with a cable box.
Well, right, except I like Coke, but otherwise, yes.
Remember when we had to used to pay $15 for the box we watch our TV on? Let's get back to those days, those old days.
Man, I want to cut the cord and have a contract that goes up after a year with no option to cancel without a penalty.
Also, is there any chance you could
service that could help me with that?
Also, it would make me feel good if just for no reason you attached a cord. I mean, just for safety. I know it doesn't actually do anything.
Can I get an antenna with AT&T now?
Yeah. So, I mean, this obviously, a couple other things beyond the mocking of the names. This bears up the rumors that AT&T just wants to get rid of the satellite business. So expect them to sell it off. Maybe to Dish, maybe not.
Which
that
is
part I don't know.
So insane. Just on a real quick nostalgia side jag, we were always fairly fond of DirecTV's reputation, right? And even when it was satellite only, it had a good reputation.
I was a happy DirecTV subscriber for up until I cut the cord of DirecTV on the show, right? In like 2015, 2016.
We were optimistic about their over-the-top network, and in fact, I recommended it to my parents before it turned to garbage and they canceled everything. It's stop me if you've heard this before, but it's almost like AT&T loves acquiring businesses, slapping their dumb, stupid name that everybody hates on it, and then running them into the ground. Looking at you, Singular.
It's a singular quality of that company.
Well, it's like they do all their market research and then they do exactly what everyone says they love, they kill it. And everything they say they hate, they make it grow.
That's just that way. Yeah.
It's AT&T's way. It's just good business.
All right. Let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under surveillance.
Candyman has a trailer. This is a movie directed by Nia DaCosta, written by Jordan Peele and Win Rosenfeld. It's being described as a successor to the 1992 movie Candyman. And I've now said the name twice, and I'll stop there.
Well, luckily they gave you a runway of 2 more than Beetlejuice. That's right, Beetlejuice. And that's the last time I'll say that name because it has a simpler premise. How much simpler? 2 names simpler. Go ahead.
So we shouldn't say Beetlejuice or Candyman anymore, right? Oh, shoot.
Don't look in a mirror with Candyman. Oh, crap.
So,
and this, I don't know. Did y'all watch the trailer? Because
I did.
I have a feeling this is a nice new take. It could be good.
It could be good. Here's the thing I never thought I'd say. I was frustrated that the trailer didn't give away. I was frustrated that the trailer for this Jordan Peele horror flick didn't give away the whole movie. And as a result, it wasn't clear to me what social commentary I would be signing up for if I were to watch it.
It's an anti-mirror screed, Brian.
Well, and keep in mind, I think this is fertile territory. We did a pretty good episode of The Modern Rogue where we talked about the Bloody Mirror mirror illusion that sort of makes it look like it melts faces and so on. It could be great. Could be great. I don't know. Didn't show me enough. Should have shown me the whole plot.
For once, you wanted the whole plot.
Yes.
Of the trailer. I didn't mind that they left it as a mystery. I thought it looked like a cool take because it's taking place in Cabrini Green, which actually when I was in college was still considered a dangerous place. And the 1992 movie used it to that effect, and now it's being gentrified. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's kind of updating it. Like there's still this worn out part of Cabrini Green, and that's where the secret terror is filled. And somebody thinks it's not true, and then makes an art exhibit. Like I got all that from the trailer, and I'm intrigued. I'm ready to hear more.
Yep, I'm with you.
Ben Schnetzer has been cast as Yorick in FX's Why the Last Man opposite Deanne Lane. The series begins production in April. If you're like, wait, Ben Schnetzer, what do I know him from? Possibly from the series Happy Town, the movie Pride. He was in Snowden, or maybe you saw Warcraft and he was Khadgar.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, weirdly, I give a plus to, forgive me, Ben, I hope we meet each other at a party and you don't hold this against me, but I like hearing unknowns for relatively unknown comic book properties that have a chance to break out into the mainstream because, and this is totally irrational, unfair, and something I'm just projecting onto it, but I perceive that it is more of a labor of love and that people are going to try to do their best to make the original break. Like, I kind of love that I don't know a single actor's name in Lock and Key on Netflix.
Yeah, well, that helps, especially with these adaptations, too, because if you bring in a big star, then generally they have something they want to bring into the project. They're like, oh, I've been doing hip hop dance for a year. Can we have a hip hop dance scene in this show?
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. So, going with an unknown, they don't have that kind of pull to kind of really affect the story too much beyond, minor line readings and stuff like that. But I'm just pumped that they're actually going to be making this, because how long have they been talking about making it?
Years,
like 6,
now.
7,
yeah.
8, 9, 10 years. It's such a good story too. I just hope FX, though, I think will do a good job with it because they're really good with mature content and content that has a lot of levels like the comic books do.
Dude, if it is anywhere near that first season of Legion, then I am a happy man as a fan of Why the Last Man.
Crunchyroll is releasing its own original anime shows. They haven't done that before. They've done some partnerships, but they've never done their own original anime shows. Half of the 8 they announced are produced with Japanese animation studios, including Production IG and MAPPA, among others. Smart
move across the board. First, what you do is you establish brand dominance by taking at a very low rate that which is available and doing it at a high quality. And then at some point you build your audience and they have a demand, and then you own your own stuff. So a lot of people are like, no, I want to own everything from the beginning. But the problem is it's hard to establish real estate in the minds of thousands and millions of other people by just doing that out of the gate. So to be honest, we're watching Crunchyroll do exactly what Netflix did with their original partnership with Starz. And then they started making their own originals. And it makes total sense for Crunchyroll to do the exact same thing.
Netflix has struck deals with 6 Japanese animation creators, and among their new deals are Clamp and Mari Yamazaki. They already have deals with Production IG and others, so these are just adding more. So it looks like it's shaping up to be a Crunchyroll, Netflix, at least in outside of Japan, anime battle. Netflix's first original out of Nigeria is a yet-to-be-named 6-part series directed by Akin Omotoso, who did Vaya. Daniel Oriahi and CJ Obasi. It's shot in Lagos and tells the story of the goddess Kimi, reincarnated as a human to avenge her daughter's death.
Now, walk me through this. They're speaking Nigerian, or is it a Nigerian original with the intention of it being released primarily in Nigeria? Or I'm sorry, I'm making you do work on this. I should have asked before the show started.
I can answer some of those questions off the top of my head. This is no different than Netflix doing any other country stuff. It's usually shot in the local language. The national languages of Nigeria are Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. I don't know which one they're going to use, or they might just use English. That happens in Nigeria sometimes. But yes, they're using local directors, local actors. This is targeted at the Nigerian market, but as with most Netflix originals, it is then put on Netflix everywhere for anyone to watch if they want.
I love everything about this because what was it? Was it the 101? What was the Brazilian show that was all in Portuguese?
The 3%.
The 3%. Yeah. I any opportunity for a breakout global new idea that happens to be in another language, I think is good for humanity and good for the bottom line of Netflix.
If you've been paying attention, we've had a lot of stories as Netflix. Netflix did that thing where like now in all the countries, they've done a lot of partnership originals in Korea and Japan. They've done several originals we've talked about France, we've talked about Germany. So this is just, as they like, okay, we're doing them in India, we're doing them in Indonesia. They're adding more countries all the time, which just spreads out their original base in a way that you don't see anybody else doing. That is one of the other things that Netflix is doing to hedge their bets is like, hey, man, even if we decline in the United States, we're building up local content in places that nobody else that is global is building up local content. I think that's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, and that's great for Nigeria because, Nigeria has a very thriving sort of independent film scene. I mean, they don't necessarily always have the best equipment or anything, but there are some really bonkers out there, sci-fi, cool stories shot in the streets of Nigeria with, very low production values, but a lot of heart. And it's great to see, American companies like Netflix putting attention on the people there who have been kind of working in the dark and the shadows for years.
Yeah, and think about it, if you get some of those talents who've got experience but just didn't have the budget, and Netflix comes in and says, "We can give you budget." Like, yeah, that's amazing.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about something we've had our eyes on. Starting with you, Bill. What have you been watching?
I have been catching up on the DC Universe cartoon Harley Quinn. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I've kind of fallen out of love with adult themed cartoons like Family Guy and stuff you would see on Adult Swim. But this is like really good. And I think it's mainly because it's so rooted in characters and the DC universe, which I love. Plus there's a lot of like really raunchy humor, fourth wall breaking kind of stuff. And it's a fun series if you like Harley Quinn or if you don't.
Is it TV 14 or above, or is it, how raunchy is raunchy?
IMDb says TVMA.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, okay. You're not kidding. All right.
There's an ongoing joke about what Batman does with bats, and it's exactly what you're thinking. So, yeah, that's
Baseball.
About the level. Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Yeah. Gets to second base. So this is DC Universe, you said?
Yeah, it's on DC Universe. I think they're about to start the second season in April. So you can go and get caught up now on 1 month. Watch the second season on a second month's payment and then cancel it because it's not that great otherwise.
Tom, what about you? What have you been watching?
I was going to ask you first, but all right, I'll go. Doctor Who finished up its second season with Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, and just blew me away. I haven't talked a lot about this season because nothing has been significantly different than season one. I really like season one. I like Jodie Whittaker. Chris Chibnall's doing a great job telling stories, but there weren't any where I was going to tell anyone like, oh, this is the thing to bring you back. But man, they pulled a number in the season finale. I don't know if it would work if you're not invested in the Doctor in general, because it pulls a lot of strings from across the entire series, both the restart as well as the original run. But I was riveted. Hour and a half finale, and I was just riveted from beginning to end. So well done to Doctor Who on their second season with Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall as the showrunner.
Is it one of those things where I think we talked about this with my opinion of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where I found a lot of that movie boring, but then the ending I found so great that I went back and I was like, okay, what could you have taken out from anything before to get that awesome of an ending? And my answer was nothing. Is it that kind of thing where it's like it's a slow grind to build up to that?
I totally get what you're saying. I think the Chibnall stories have been really good from week to week. Obviously, some are better than others, but it's not exactly like the show has been boring. On the other hand, you gotta really like the story of the Time Lords and Gallifrey and be a little knowledgeable of it for this to work. It's a little different than the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood effect. It's more of a, I care about the Doctor. Maybe I haven't watched every episode lately, but I've been keeping in touch. Then I think you could jump in on this finale and have a great time. There are a couple of episodes that set this up this season that you probably would want to see just to see how they got to where they are at the beginning of this episode. But yeah, it's the first Doctor Who in a long time that I've watched twice.
Right on.
Yeah, I've been watching this season. I didn't like Chibnall's first season very much, but this season has definitely been a lot stronger. I do have my issues with the finale. I think the cool thing about the Doctor and the thing that's impressive about him is his present, not his past. And not to go into too much spoilers, but this finale kind of like reaches back into his past and messes around with stuff. I feel like, if they would focus more on the Doctor in the present with the companions and everything for the finale, it would have just hit me a little better. That's all.
Brian, what about you?
Man, I got to tell you, normally I try to bring something new to the table. I don't have much for you this time. I just barely tried to keep up with our regulars, which only included Parks and Rec with my family, getting caught up on 3 or 4 episodes of The Outsider, watching 2 more episodes of Locke and Key, 2 episodes of Larry Sanders. I did skip Picard this week. I did watch another episode of Better Call Saul and the premiere again because I had to get my wife caught up. But most importantly, my oldest, 15, about to turn 16 years old, she saw half of the first episode of Lock and Key and all of episode 3 of Lock and Key. And she did that thing that almost 16-year-olds do where she's like, well, I don't know. I mean, if you happen to have those graphic novels laying around, I mean, I guess I'll check them out.
I mean, it's not a big deal.
And then I did the thing that dads do, which is like, I was going to go grab some dinner anyway, so maybe I'll just, immediately drive out to Mountain Rogue World headquarters and go pick them up and bring them home to you. And then
I'll just swing by.
And then I maybe come back and I'm like, yeah, so anyway, the beginning of the first trade, really starts off harsh, but it smooths out. I think you really enjoy it. Smash cut to 12:30 at night. I'm going to bed and I'm like, and I walk in, I open the door and she goes, episode or what is it? Issue 6 or whatever the trade was. Like she was in the last half of the last thing, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, good night, kid. So suffice to say, she loved it. If you liked Lock and Key, I suspect that you will love the comic, and that's the biggest recommendation I have right now.
All right, folks, it's time to see what we should be on the lookout for.
Hey, we got a comedy pick from Joe in our email. Joe says, hey guys, I have just noticed a new show on Netflix called Medical Police. I haven't had the chance to watch it yet because of life, but it is done by the same crew that did Children's Hospital, including Rob Hubel and Aaron Hayes as the leads. Thought it might be something that fellow Cordkillers would like to see. Joe, thanks, Joe. Has anybody on the panel seen Medical Police yet? Heard of it?
But
I haven't seen either one of those.
I already love what I'm seeing from just the visuals here. Just a slightly over the top. And the cast looks familiar and awesome.
Yeah, this is. I managed to watch this pretty much when it came out, and it's great. So the idea is that there's this big epidemic popping up across the world, and 2 doctors from Children's Hospital, the old show Children's Hospital, take it on themselves to solve the case and all of the conspiracies about it. If you haven't seen the Children's Hospital show from Adult Swim, there's plenty of setup. You don't need to worry too much about finding it because it's very hard to find online. It's kind of campy. It's very much a parody of genre shows, so like medical dramas and globe-trotting, big adventure action.
Not gonna lie, I'm already laughing just looking at the visuals.
Yeah, it's super goofy, but what's really nice is that they are out of the hospital setting, and so each episode is like in a new place, and there are all new conceits each episode, which I think is really good, given how long Children's Hospital ran and just was always in the hospital. There are 10 half-hour episodes of Medical Police streaming now on Netflix. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com.
All right, folks, it's time to take a break and tell you about something that helps our show besides patreon.com/cordkillers. What would that be, Brian?
Oh my goodness. Hey man, we sold a pen. We put together we found a pen. We got a mass produced. We got a logo on it and everything. It's a great pen. We call it the Pen of Greatness, and it's got the Mono logo. Most importantly, that it's got three different types of inks and a mechanical pencil. It's got a eraser built in. And here's the crazy part. We're going to replace it for free forever and ever. Never. If it runs out of ink, we'll replace it for free. If it breaks, we'll replace it for free. Everyone's like, you're crazy.
If there's a heat death in the universe, they'll replace the pen.
Free. Come looking for my cold, lifeless, dead, corporeal atoms. But the important thing is a lot of people are reacting very, very well to it. So take a look at the latest Mono episode. And of course, everything that we do here is supported by our friends over at Doghouse Systems. DoghouseSystems.com/V/Rogue. Use promo code Rogue at checkout. Get a 250 gigabyte SSD on checkout forever. Look, today's not the day, maybe. You're gonna buy a computer at some point. When you do, Doghouse Systems, use that promo code Rogue.
Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Oh, we almost had another one of those negotiating crises for a streaming service. Sinclair Broadcast Group, which now owns the Fox Sports regional channels, reached a temporary agreement with YouTube TV this weekend to keep the channels available to subscribers because the agreement had run out. YouTube TV notified customers late last week that the channels would be going away, and then Sinclair said, well, it's not our fault. But instead of, getting in a nasty fight, they struck a temporary agreement to keep them available on YouTube TV while the two sides work on a longer-term deal.
You know what's interesting is we've seen these kind of face-offs happen before, but normally the cable side only has the option to run ads explaining their side of the story. And then the content providers say they're trying to kick us off the air. So they're both using ads to fight. Whereas YouTube, by virtue of being an over-the-top network that we associate with the number of, like when YouTube sends me an official announcement, I tend to dial in, what with, that being a big part of my income and so on. It almost seems like YouTube had an unfair tool to use to cause everybody to say, like, what? Sinclair Media, you're a big jerky face.
I mean, TV channels have always done that with the banners.
Well, But when CBS says that Charter is being a jerky face, it doesn't burn Reddit down. It doesn't take off on Twitter.
Exactly.
When YouTube and Fox Sports, which people are like, I don't know about Sinclair, but Fox Sports have a fight, suddenly that's clickbait, right? That's huge.
Well, and I guess it takes the fight outside of the media because if you tune into cable television to see the banner that says Fox is going away soon, then you're tuned in like that. That's an inherent bias, and it seems like I don't know. This feels like a slightly different version of the same fight we've seen before.
Yeah, this is definitely, as someone who used to work for one of Sinclair's competitor television groups, these fights, it's all just jockeying for position and, some executive trying to get the very best possible deal so he can get a better bonus. So, it's all a lot of theatrics, and it's mainly just, grandstanding on both sides. But on the same token, I know that Sinclair made out well in this deal. If nothing else, just for being on YouTube TV, and I hate them as a broadcast group, so I'm very disappointed in that.
A lot of people agree with you on that.
Comcast has acquired Zumo, a free ad-supported streaming video service similar to Pluto.tv. Zumo will operate as an independent business unit. Zumo has about 10 million monthly viewers, bigger number than I would have expected.
Yeah, so now, like Viacom CBS, Comcast has a free ad-supported tier in Zumo, a free ad supported and also for pay without ads and also for pay Peacock service. They don't have the premium service, and that shouldn't be hard for them to either acquire or create. And they could mimic that same strategy that we were talking about Viacom and CBS doing last week.
Do you think they'll acquire or create?
I don't know.
I thought the Peacock initial announcement was pretty heavy on compelling originals. I feel like they'll follow more the Netflix side of things.
It may be that they consider the paid Peacock without ads to be the premium side, but yeah, I'm curious. But it is odd to think that Comcast doesn't have an HBO, a Stars, it doesn't. Maybe they buy Stars. Maybe they buy Lionsgate. I don't know. It's hard to say, but maybe they won't do any of those. They're definitely trying to buy Vudu, and they have Fandango now already, so they could like combine those into a store, which is something we don't see Viacom CBS having, and maybe that's their triple play is the premium is get anything you want, just pay for it.
Yeah.
Put it in a locker. Yeah. Meanwhile, NBC struck a deal with A&E networks to add hundreds of hours of A&E programming to Peacock later this year. Shows like Storage Wars, Cold Case Files, Project Blue Book, and more. Peacock launches April 15th for Comcast subscribers, July 15th for everyone else. The A&E shows will show up after those launches.
And AMC Network says it now has 2 million subscribers across its 4 streaming services. AMC runs Acorn TV, Shudder, Sundance Now, and Urban Movie Channel. Revenues from the services help offset losses from declining cable and satellite distribution and declining ad revenue. Those are 4 services that I do not hear in most mixed company. Is this a press release to ameliorate the heartache for shareholders, or
no? I mean, this was the earnings call. This was just the facts. It's not. I don't think it's trying to ameliorate. This is part of the entire earnings report.
Just for me, I've never heard of any of those. So
that's what I'm saying is that it's like 2 million, big number, very excited as an investor, followed by 4 services that I'm guessing most people have not heard of.
We've talked about Acorn TV on the show a bunch because they have British stuff, and so and when we're talking about BritBox and the BBC, Acorn TV often comes up. We've talked about Shudder a few times because. Yep. They have the horror movies and horror stuff. Sundance Now and Urban Movie Channel definitely don't get a lot of play. But the point being, whether you've heard of them or not in your little bubble, Tom Merritt, they are making up revenue for AMC, right? Like, listen, we have declining cable subscriptions and therefore declining ad revenue, but don't worry, we're building up streaming. I want to compare this to the next story, which Discovery announced in its earnings that revenue from ads and distribution rose, offsetting its decline in viewers. Discovery has been pursuing digital distribution, so putting Discovery on more channels. Remember, AMC limits. They're only on Philo and Sling TV. I think they're on YouTube TV, but they're not on all the services. Discovery's out there like, yeah, put us everywhere. Let's get it at as many places as possible. And they're also seeing a rise in international distribution, not only digitally, but on linear channels there as well. So that's a contrast in approach. I'm curious, Brian, if you see AMC saying, look, our digital is young, it may not be well known, but it's starting to make money and that's our future, versus Discovery saying, our strategy is to just put what we have as many places as possible.
Yeah. So another way to restate that is AMC's message is we are expanding. Look at all these new little trees that are growing that we've planted. Whereas AMC is we're drilling really, really deep. Or sorry, Discovery is we're drilling really, really deep. And as far as positioning goes, I mean, after the ad spend and the sponsorships that we've seen from CuriosityStream, I guess disclosure, CuriosityStream was one of the sponsors of some Modern Rogue episodes. The CuriosityStream is really well positioned to be.
What is CuriosityStream?
It's basically a Netflix for people who love Discovery, only all content that is not Discovery. It's from the guy who created Discovery, and then since left and started his own thing. Like, Discovery will have a harder time expanding into that niche when it discovers that the online behind a paywall over-the-top network is already occupied in a way that Shudder does not have that problem, because Shudder, nobody was playing the horror fanatic game on the over-the-top network before they showed up.
And I think the other thing that plugs right into that is Discovery making a lot of extra money on international distribution in areas that don't have the streaming competition that the United States faces, maybe only going to work for them for a while until that streaming competition arises in those other markets.
And finally, sports streaming service Dazn will expand from 9 countries to 200 in advance for its first global live event, the Cinco de Mayo weekend fight. What's that?
In advance.
Oh, in advance. No. It's a dance, Tom. I did not read anything wrong. It's a dance for leading up to its first global live event, the Cinco de Mayo weekend fight on May the 2nd. The international programming will focus on boxing, which has been called the sweetest science, also a dance of dragons. That's, it melted down. I got
and
nothing.
And it's Dazn. I guess we know that too. Dazn being we're not ESPN, but we will be someday. And you better watch out, Bob J. Peck, because we're positioning ourselves to take all your sports from you.
Thank God there's finally more sports. You know how much I love sports, guys, and I'm just so thrilled that we have more options for sports.
Well, that's why we call you Bob Sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, folks, let's get to some dispatches from the front. People very excited about fixing this bundle problem. Sean Hendricks wrote, after listening to the episode and someone talking about the packaging issue with Hulu and Disney, I want to point out I've been a Hulu no ads subscriber for 8+ years. When Disney Plus came out, I did a little research and found out that as long as your Hulu and Disney subscriptions have the same email address, you will get a discount on your Disney subscription. I pay for Hulu, no ads, separately from Disney, but I just confirmed that my Disney bill was only $7.53.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're saying the same thing again, but Jesse writes in saying, in regards to the listener from Katy, Texas, you can upgrade to the ad-free Hulu tier from your Hulu settings, not from Disney Plus. This keeps your Disney Plus bundle discount on there.
So that's another way to do it, is you buy the bundle, then you go into Hulu and upgrade to the ad-free tier from within. And that Jesse's saying that'll work. So there are ways to get ad-free and still keep the bundle. Thank you, everybody else who wrote in about this. And we saw some people on Twitter pointing this out as well. Appreciate that.
Hey, Bill Meeks, when you're trapped in that elevator and all of a sudden you hear the ding, 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 that means that they finally fixed it, enough for you to resolve your differences and go about your day. What is the one call to action you make to send somebody to all of your best stuff?
I would say go to doanything.media/fan podcasting. We're a online, I call it a virtual playhouse. We're not putting on Othello, but we're doing cool, collaborative, creative projects. And part of our mission is creating resources for people who want to go out there and create their own stuff. I spent about 7 years fan casting about shows like Gotham and Once Upon a Time, and fairly successful. So I've taken all of that knowledge and shoved it into this book. You can get for free, Fan Podcasting, the complete guide. It's available free on the website, and it's also available until Wednesday of this week on Amazon.com.
Hey man,
if you're familiar with it.
That's a legitimate thing. We've talked about this on other podcasts. If you want to, with a straight face, say, hello, I'm so-and-so. I host the world's #1 fan cast dedicated to blank. Guess what? All you have to do is be the first fan cast. And by virtue of being first, not only will you be #1 legitimately, but you will very likely stay #1 because whoever shows up first tends to be @1.
That's how we trick people into listening to our Gotham podcast. Absolutely.
Hey, folks, our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, carried on diamondclub.tv, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you again next time.
Hey, Tom Merritt.
Yes, Brian Brushwood.
Know who I love even more than my own children?
Your other children?
No, not my wife. I know what you're saying. I love our $5 patrons. These are the people that keep us loud, live, and independent. Thank you so much, $5 patrons.
You know what? I love them more than not life itself, because then I'd be dead and I couldn't appreciate them, but really, really, really close. And I'm so thankful that they are here to make this show happen.
Thank you so much to all of our $5 a month patrons. You guys are wizards. You're champions.
Thank you, everyone.
You're heroes.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.